Greetings, friend. I hope you are well today. Buying a home is exciting. I mean, there's nothing like showing a first-time home buyer a property. And it's always interesting to hear their comments when they first write in, they walk into a place. And then due to their inexperience, I mean, every home is terrific, but as you get more experienced and with proper guidance, I share with them why this may or may not be the right home for them. So in this video, I want to share with you the top 10 questions I encourage every buyer to ask. And I've got my notes as usual, so I don't miss anything. I need the reader so I can read what I wrote for you. The first question that many buyers ask is, why is the seller moving? And sometimes you can look into that answer and figure out their desperation for a sale. Okay. What I would encourage and always will encourage any buyer regarding making an offer is to make an offer that you're happy with if you win the contract or you don't. Put your best foot forward. Many times there may be some negotiating back and forth, but by placing a fair offer based on the statistics and market analysis that I'll do for them, let's make a fair offer. And if the seller takes it or they counter, the ball's back in our court to figure out what we want to do next. Sometimes by figuring out why the seller is moving, we're gaining valuable negotiating insight, which is so true. Okay. Number 2, how long has the home been on the market? Very important question. When I am showing buyers properties, one of the first things I do when we walk in, first of all, I have all of their sheets in order as to the properties we are seeing. I highlight the purchase price, if there's an HOA, what the monthly fees are, what the taxes are, what flood zone it is in pertaining to Florida properties, for example. But I also will circle days on market. And days on market may not be an indicator of a poorly priced property. Things happen where it goes under contract, comes off the market, while it's pending, back on the market. Maybe it was taken off the market to, I don't know, family was visiting, whatever it might be. So days on the market is an indicator to me of a few things. But just because it's on the market a long time does not mean it's overpriced. Many times it will, okay? Longer time on the market may create negotiating opportunities. Yes. If a home is on the market one day, do you think the seller is more willing to negotiate versus something that's been on the market for 320 days? Absolutely. Either way, I would encourage the buyer to make an offer that they're happy with, whether they get it or not. Number 3, has the price been reduced by the seller? Okay. In our market today, again, this is June of 2026, many homes have been reduced in price, the listing price. Why? Market conditions, more inventory, higher interest rates, okay? The overall economy. A lot of factors go into it. But I will share this. I think a properly priced home in the best condition that shows well will not be on the market long. Those homes that have been on the market longer than the average, and by the way, a fair market is about a 6-month inventory. All right. If you've got a home, been on the market more than 6 months, it's priced too high. Less, we're getting to that point where we got to talk about lowering the purchase price. How old are the major components? That's the 4th question I would ask. How old are the major components? Roof, the heat and air conditioning system, the water heater, windows, and appliances. Okay. There's going to be some new regulations coming out in the near future where the hot water tank can no longer be replaced with those barrel type tanks. They're going to have to go to an on-demand system. Okay, now a hot water tank isn't a huge expense, but I think you've got a budget, depending on the size and location in the house, between $1,500 and $2,500. The reason I say location is if it's in a second story closet, it may take 2 or 3 guys there to get that out of there. It's going to cost more money. Many are in the garage, but many are in the house on a second floor. So those will all come into play. Appliances are one thing. If they're older appliances, yes, they've gotten expensive. I saw a fridge yesterday at Lowe's that was $2,200. I was like, wow, it's just shocking what some of the newer appliances cost. They've got smart features, etc. on them, but still, you've got a budget for those things. So those are the things we're going to look at. How old is the air conditioner? What age is the roof? When was it replaced? Was it permitted and replaced properly? The water heater, as I mentioned. Windows are a huge expense today, especially here in Florida. Depending on where it's located, they may need to be hurricane rated. They certainly help with energy efficiency and noise, but it's a great investment. And then the appliances, I think, last but not least, are something to take a look at, the condition and the age of them. 5th question a buyer should ask, what does the HOA cover? For those communities that have HOAs, homeowners associations, there may be a monthly fee. Some have no monthly fees, but most of the times, those HOAs that have no monthly fees really have no amenities that are being shared with the community. Okay, a community pool, for example. If you don't have an HOA fee, you don't have an HOA community pool. Who's paying for that pool? The homeowners are, but if there's no monthly fee, I'm guessing you don't have the amenities. And that's a huge topic. We have a lot of HOAs here in Florida. What's the monthly fee? Are there any special assessments coming up? And what are the restrictions? Okay? Rental restrictions, age restrictions, pet restrictions. Those are all things that we'll gather prior to even showing a property. I have a buyer currently who has a very large dog. She'd like to buy a condo. Very difficult because large dogs are not allowed in that association. Most condo associations won't allow them. Some homeowners associations will allow them, some will not. It's all part of the process. And the 5th question of what does an HOA cover? Number 6, what's included in the purchase? Rule of thumb, if it's bolted down or attached to the house, it conveys with the property. On our Florida contracts, every appliance in the house that is attached, meaning the microwave, the built-in microwave, the range, the dishwasher, the refrigerators, if they're plugged into the house, they're going to convey, and it's written that way in the contract. Currently, the only appliances that do not convey, unless we ask for them, is a washer and dryer. Okay. By the way, it says it's multiple fridges, multiple stoves, plural. So if there's an extra fridge in the garage or a freezer, it conveys. But and I've coached many agents for years. If in doubt, write it out. Okay. You want to make sure, write it on the contract. It makes it binding. Is there a playground in the background? A swing set, something like that. If we're not sure if it's attached or not, meaning that it's cemented into the ground, write it in the additional terms so we know that it conveys with the property. Washer and dryer is one thing we're always going to add. A new item to the Florida contracts is TV mounts mounted to the wall for the flat screen television do convey. But like I mentioned, if in any doubt at any time, always write it out. Garage shelving, if it's attached to the walls, is going to convey. But again, it doesn't hurt to write it in the additional terms that it conveys. Number 7, the 7th question any buyer should ask: are there any known issues? In Florida, a seller must disclose latent defects. What does that mean? A latent defect is something that you and I cannot see when we walk into the property. If there is a leak from the roof dripping into a bucket, does the seller have to tell you that they have a leaking roof? No, it's not a latent defect. We can see it. But let's say they did have a roof leak and now it's not rainy season. Do they need to disclose that was a roof leak? Yes, there is. It's all part of the seller's property disclosure. And in Florida, a new disclosure is our flood disclosure. Every property, no matter what, must have a flood disclosure filled out, where it's asking, was the property flooded, and have you made any insurance claims to FEMA? Okay? It's very important for the next buyer to know these things because that's going to affect their insurance. Was there any water intrusion? How about any foundation issues? Insurance claims, like I mentioned, or repairs. Whether you know this or not, this is interesting. If a homeowner makes an insurance claim on the home that you are considering buying, your insurance may be slightly higher because of the claim the previous owner made. That claim not only follows the home, but follows that seller to their next property, because there may be a history of certain people making claims continually on their property, looking to get a new roof or whatever, and just paying for the deductible. So those things will all come into play. And when we align with the proper loan officer and insurance rep, those things will be crystal clear to you prior to closing. What's the average utility cost? Why do you want to know that? Hey, we're all trying to figure out what is this place going to cost us: mortgage, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and how about utilities as well? Basically, what's important, number 9, what will my total monthly payment be? When I think about this, next time you're driving down the road and you're driving past a Ford dealership and you see a pickup truck out in the yard there for sale, does it show the purchase price of it? Rarely. It may say the year of it, but it may also say then $7.99 a month. Because in the mindset of the buyer, can I afford that monthly? I'm not looking at what it's going to cost me over the course of that payment, but what's my monthly payment? And the 10th question, which is my favorite of these, can I comfortably afford this home? Okay. You get qualified for a mortgage, but you've got to realize that, long term, there's going to be things to fix. There's going to be repairs that come up. You've got to budget for the roof and the AC and the major components. And by being mortgage poor, you're never going to be in the position to be able to handle those things, when they come up. So that's why I think that's the most important question of those 10. Buying a home isn't about asking more questions. It's about asking the right questions. And the better informed you are, the better decision you will make. And I'll help you make them. I'm John Rurkowski. Thanks for listening today. If you have any questions or would like to discuss anything real estate related, let me know. And there's a home buyer packet I'm putting together. If you'd like that, just let me know and I'll send that to you over as well. So until we chat, take care of yourself. Thank you for listening today and be well. Peace.